Welcome to my supper club where today I'll be making a Louisiana style shrimp po' boy. I started off by seasoning my shrimp. I use a Creole seasoning. You can use your favorite seasoning to season your shrimp, but I love my shrimp to be a little spicy. I then make the brine for the shrimp by cracking an egg and combining it with hot sauce. But I whip the egg and then I add some hot sauce and then I mix it up. I add about a tablespoon of hot sauce, maybe 2 tablespoons with the egg. And I use a 12-ounce package of extra large shrimp after combining the egg and a hot sauce mixture. But I let this sit in the refrigerator for about 10 minutes before I fry. But just to incorporate, one shrimp got away. We'll get rid of that one. But I incorporate the brine all over the shrimp, making sure that it is evenly coated. And then I am going to let that marinate in the fridge for about a good 15 minutes before adding the breading. As it sits in the refrigerator, I take out the tender, airy interior of the French bread. I love a shattery crust that's nice and tender. I was able to find this at my local supermarket. And I just like to brown it a little bit with a pat of butter just to give it a quick little, just that little crust inside. I brown it for about maybe 30 to 60 seconds, not even that long. And then I set that aside. Preparing my flour dredge, I lightly season my dredge, my flour, and I add the shrimp that has been marinated inside of the dredge, and then I shake that up. But I want to make sure that the flour dredge is usually is half flour and half cornmeal, but if you can find your favorite dredge seasoning, that is okay too. And I just shake that up just to incorporate that flour to make sure it is all the shrimp are incorporated in that. This is a messy sandwich, but it's an absolute delicious sandwich. After I dredge it the first time, I add it back to the brine because I want a double crust. And this is not necessary, but that's just my preference. So after the first brine, I add it to the flour mixture, and then I add it back to the brine. So I want to get that brine back in so that I can get a delicious double crust, if you will. So after I add it back to the brine, I'm going to add it back to the flour mixture. And you can add your favorite seasonings, a little garlic powder. I just added the Creole seasonings. I wanted that extra spicy taste. So that's a personal preference. But once I add it back to the flour, I then shake it up to make sure that flour is sticking to that shrimp. Everything is incorporated perfectly. So as you can see here, this is what I'm doing. And then I just shake it up for a second time to get everything incorporated on those shrimp. After I set my bread aside, it's just a lightly toasted sub roll to crisp up my crust. That's still aside. After I shook up the shrimp for that second time, I just lay it down on an aluminum foil lined baking sheet so that it can adhere to the shrimp. I just leave it alone for a few minutes. But you just saw my lettuce and tomatoes. That's going to fill up the sandwich. But after I get the oil nice and hot, the shrimp has already been added to the pan, as you can see here, and I like to fry it a deep fried golden brown. And then I'm going to dress the sandwich. So like I said before, it's a messy, delicious sandwich. That there is the remoulade sauce that you add on the French bread. So you can add mayonnaise, but I like to add that Louisiana sauce. So here I am dressing the bread. I used the remoulade sauce, shredded lettuce, sliced tomatoes. I usually like to add pickles, but I was out of pickles today. So the sliced tomatoes and pile high of shredded lettuce was what I had on hand. So the seafood simplicity of the fried shrimp today is going to make my sandwich A+. You can add shrimp, you can add fried oysters, anything you want, but I just wanted to keep it simple with some big shrimp. And as you can see there, that's the lettuce and the tomatoes. I'm going to also incorporate some sliced red onions, but that's just a personal taste. Now, as I dress the sandwich with my large shrimp, I'm going to assemble it, and you can assemble it any way you like, but I love extra shrimp. So it's good to have a assembly line efficiency when you are making your sandwich. You know, you have your bread, you have your toppings, you have your condiments. And as you can see there, I had the Old Bay. I did add a little Old Bay on my shrimp. I forgot to mention that earlier. But it's basically a matter of choice if you want your sandwich spicy or not. And you can see there the beautiful fried golden shrimp. And I am adding some extra hot sauce on top to give it that extra spicy kick. It's nothing like a spicy po' boy sandwich, at least in my opinion. So there you have it, the po' boy sandwich. And I'm adding some red onions for that extra little taste. The remoulade sauce, as I mentioned before, is basically a spicy mayonnaise-based sauce. You can buy it from the store. I actually made it homemade, but you can buy it. It's hot sauce, cayenne, garlic. Sometimes you could add a little horseradish, a little pickles, and there is the finished sandwich. I had to cut it in half because it's such a large sandwich. So thanks so much for stepping into my supper club at Lady G's Cuisine.